I know for my 60th.
Commissioners Court of Brazos County will meet in regular session on April the 15th, 2025, 10 a.m. Brazos County Commissioners Administration Building, 200 South Texas Avenue, Suite 106. First item on the agenda is invocation of Pledge of Allegiance of the U.S. and Texas flag. Commissioner Brown will lead those.
Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, may we reflect on this holy week and what our Lord and Savior did to save us from ourselves. As we go into our session today, I ask, Lord, that you give us wisdom, that you give us guidance, and you give us patience. And all this I ask in your precious name I pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Second item on the agenda is call for citizens' input and or concerns, and we've got some. Paul Beans.
Good morning. My name is Paul Vians. I live in College Station 15 years now. I am here for one thing in particular. I wanted to thank Commissioner Bentley Nettles for the outstanding program he put on Wednesday night. Kathy and I attended, as many of other people here did, and I learned a lot of information I wasn't aware of. And I'm grateful that he had Judge Kenny Elliott come and talk with the particulars of that area. Constable Jeff Reeves, Emergency Management Jason Ware, and of course Wayne Dickey, our sheriff, was there and gave us an overview for the rest of the county. And I also want to thank the employees of the county, particularly Katie, I'll call her an accountant, I don't know her official title, who stayed later and answered many questions that people had. All that being said, after listening to that, and again, I'm extremely thankful for what you did for particularly your precinct, but also other members of the county were there. It became pretty aware, there was a subject in particular that I thought I got out of there. There were a number of things, and one is, you as a group have the responsibility of spending taxpayers' money. Yeah, we may argue is that maybe it's not being done correctly or we would do it differently. But there is one thing that I thought was pretty clear, and that was, I really believe that Constable Jeffrey Reeves and Judge Kenny Elliott are understaffed. I think these guys need some help. And I'm sure I could have that conversation with a number of law enforcement agencies in our county, but it was particularly notable to me just the overwhelming amount of work that that office is doing on behalf of its citizens. And I just wanted to say publicly that I think there should be some acknowledgement to that. And I know that people are going to have lists coming up with different things in the future, but I, for one system, would absolutely support that. And another issue is I recently gave a talk to the Republican Party up in Robertson County. As you know, I teach military history. And as I was driving up there, we drove by the sheriff's office, and I was looking at the size of the building, and I realized that I'm looking at that building, and there are probably garage doors on the other side where they house, the sheriff's department is housing their vehicles. We need a garage for the sheriff's office here in Brazos County. Think about the amount of money we'd be saving at the end of the day for hail damage. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Chris Barnes.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again this morning. I spoke a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to try and finish what I was in the middle of when I ran out of time at that then. I had ended that presentation by saying that undeveloped rural property has a value to the entire community, far beyond what shows up on the tax office rolls or is valued by real estate developers. And it's my hope and prayer and my request that the County Commissioners Court be the body that helps protect that value. I also said that my dad used to say that it doesn't do any good to complain. If you complain, you need to try to come up with a solution, or at least offer a solution for the problem. And I believe I have one, which I think addresses not just the East Loop problem, but the bigger issue of out-of-control development of rural property. About a month ago, there was a story on the evening news on KBTX about how the city of College Station uses something called impact fees to help offset increased costs that a community incurs when a new development is proposed. In that story, it was mentioned that neither the city of Bryan nor Brazos County make use of this fee. I spent some time researching impact fees and seeing what they actually do, and it's my belief that Brazos County should make use of this tool and use it extensively. One of the reasons that urban sprawl occurs is because rural property is comparatively much cheaper to develop than other locations. This is often because local governments provide various services where the developers don't have to incur that cost. Instead, it's the taxpayers who already live in the area who are forced to foot that bill. I'm going to give an example. Let's say a developer buys 500 acres outside the city limits on 1179 and puts in 1,000 new homes. That translates into about 2,000 additional cars being added to the daily traffic on 1179. I believe the cost for improving that road should be paid for by the purchasers of those new homes, not the taxpayers of the entire county. I'm not talking about road maintenance. I'm talking about addition and expansion of roads. But it doesn't just stop with roads. I know that, I don't know how many new houses it would need to show up before we need a new fire station to be built and staffed, or how many new deputies need to be added to the sheriff's department, or when we need to build a new water tower, or a new sewage plant, or a new landfill. I'm sure there's about a dozen other services I don't even know about that you guys probably know about. I'm not asking to be punitive toward developers, but I do think it's time we cut off the welfare system that they've enjoyed and make them pay their fair share. And their fair share would be the full price of what it costs to everyone else. And as a side benefit, maybe, just maybe, if the price of developing rural land isn't so cheap, maybe we wouldn't need an East Loop. Rural land could stay rural. And there is a side benefit to elected officials. You get a revenue stream that doesn't depend on increasing property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Simpson.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you.
Morning.
Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. Just wanted to talk about some newsworthy items. On April 9th, 2025, President Trump signed an order revoking the security clearance of Chris Krebs and his associates. Also, President Trump has directed the Department of Justice to investigate Mr. Krebs' activities as a government employee, including his leadership of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA. Chris Krebs was the former head of CISA. It is a component of the Department of Homeland Security, and it focuses on identifying and managing risks to the nation's cyber and physical infrastructure. On January 6, 2017, Secretary Jay Johnson designated election infrastructure as a critical infrastructure in the United States. Referring to the 2020 election, general election, Mr. Krebs is quoted as saying, "This is the safest election we've ever had." President Trump responded to that quote, and yet, every day you read in the papers more and more about fraud that's discovered. He's the fraud. He's a disgrace. President Trump said. So we'll find out whether or not it was a safe election, and if it wasn't, he's got a big price to pay. The next day, on April 10th, during a White House cabinet meeting, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard reported on vulnerable electronic voting machines and the need for paper ballots to restore trust and transparency in American elections. Ms. Gabbard said, quote, "We are investigating. We have the best of the best going after this, election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time, and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate," he was addressing President Trump, "for the paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections." This is our Director of National Investigations. Brazos County uses Hart InterCivic voting machines. I checked the Brazos County unredacted payment of claims for this week. It lists Hart InterCivic 4 times. Once for office supplies, again for administrative printing, and for maintenance of the machines, and also for computer contracts of $11,533. All total $20,157 just for this week. I wonder how much of our tax dollars this county has spent on voting machines since they were first purchased years ago. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kyle Greenwood.
Good morning, Judge,
Morning.
members of the court. Kyle Greenwood, Brazos County resident. Over the weekend, we had our third barbecue social meeting at C&J's. Had quite a few in attendance, I'd say 100 at least. Had some good information and presentation by some eminent domain attorneys from Mars, Ellis, and Hodge. But unfortunately, at this meeting, I got some disturbing information that I wanted to share with the court. I was told by 2 different individuals that Commissioner Conderla has received death threats. And I have specifically stated, and I addressed this at our meeting, that we believe as an organization that there is no place for violence in public discourse. As I've said from the beginning, when we held our first town hall back in November, violence does not belong in this issue or in any political issue. I want to make it clear that that is our position, that anybody who engages in such activity does not belong in our organization and will be removed from our platform. Additionally, I wanted to let you know, Judge, I've also had discussions with Brian PD about this, as well as I just had a discussion with the sheriff to let them know what I had heard and to make it clear to the court. That said, I renew my objection to the Inner East Loop proposal in total. I renew my call and my request that the county consider canceling the contract with Quiddity Engineering because we don't believe that this is a viable need, this is a viable roadway, and this is a waste of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Beverly Greenwood.
Good morning.
Morning.
Happy Easter. He is risen.
Amen.
Thank you all. My name's Beverly Greenwood. I live on Steep Hollow Road. I wanted to thank you, Commissioner Nettles. I think your town hall last week or the week before, I couldn't attend. I think it was excellent. Thank you very much. Somebody had mentioned having a clock in here. Could we have a clock, please? Last week, I was actually embarrassed. I was embarrassed that he had to yell time at Miss Charlotte, who's a school teacher, and she's trying to get through her words, and I just found that really embarrassing. I was embarrassed for you. was embarrassed for the court. I think it'd be really nice if we had a clock. Thank you. Ditto for Kyle. That really bothers me that we've now had to hear from two different people that people are considering violence or threatening violence. We do not condone it. I just posted on Facebook specifically that we do not condone it. It's been on our website from the beginning, and we did say it at the barbecue social for those that were there. We did say it on Saturday as well. So my apologies that people think that they can do that and threaten that. That's not right. I was digging around on the internet, as I tend to do a lot lately, as you all know, and I found a report from another county from Innovative Transportation Solutions. For those of you that don't know, that's the consultant that the county pays for the whole bond package with all the road projects. We pay him $15,000 a month. Since the summer of 2000, I estimate based on that contract that we've paid him $375,000 for the people that he knows within TxDOT, even though we have TxDOT Bryan District people from here that have moved into the state. Lance Simmons is now number 3. He started here. We have a relationship with him. I don't think we need to be paying John Polster that kind of money. What I found was from another county, because he works in multiple counties, he makes a lot of money doing this, was that he provides a report to the county. The county had it online, so I could see their highway report on what he's doing and how he's making his, in that county, I think he makes $250,000 a year from that county. And I would like to see what he's doing. I think we should see what he's doing with that money. So if we could get a report like he gives that county, it had his logo on the bottom, it was multiple pages, it had all the highway projects that he was working on that came from their trip bond. Trip bonds are very common. He names them the same. It's the same in every county. I'd really like to see a report from him to see why we're paying him this much money. Every month, we pay him another $15,000, we pay him another $15,000. That's a lot of money, and I think we need a reporting on that. So once again, happy Easter. I'm sorry it was a little dark for a minute as far as what we've heard, but I really want to discourage that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Beans?
It's on the internet.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I also wanted to say thank you to Commissioner Nettles for holding that town hall. It wasn't my precinct, but I was happy to attend and listen as a audience member, and it was very fruitful in my mind. I felt like you were very receptive to hearing questions and responsive to the people who attended, and it gave me confidence in you as a commissioner, and I wanted to recognize you for that. I wanted also to point out on the back, I don't have it in front of me, but on the back page of the agenda, there is mention in there that if in this public space of the agenda, if I say something that's incorrect factually, you don't have to be quiet. You're allowed to correct me. So last week I mentioned about not having ever heard of a town hall in my precinct. And Ms. Boney, when I sat down, told me, oh no, that's not true. There are town halls held every month at the end of every month, every 3 months, at the Carver Event Center, and I've never heard of it. I don't know where that's published. Maybe you could put something on the public forum that we could hear about it. There's no notices of that. I also wanted to mention about the unintended consequences of the constant push to grow our county. Drawing in new businesses to acquire and bring more people into our county increases the population, and the unintended consequence, which we will be addressing this summer as the budget comes up, is the loss of funds to the transit district as a result of changing our population from one category to another, and our federal funds will be dropped, and the cities are going to have to contribute more money, and the county's going to have to contribute more money because we've now increased our population growth. And there are other things, obviously, about population growth that have unintended consequences. I can't help but wonder why the water shortages are not a component of the calculation of how much population we want to bring to the county, since we have a huge water problem, and the more thousands of people we bring in, it depletes our water resources. So I feel like that should be at least considered in the process of how many businesses we can bring in, how many people they can bring in, how much population we can bring in. As my husband mentioned, that affects the sheriff's department, it affects the fire emergency services. All those things are expanded by the population growth that is being pushed by, I feel like it's being pushed by this court. I was unaware of Highway 36A, only just heard of it, and I was told, oh, everybody knows about it. I don't know if everybody knows about 36A. Never knew about that, and that's a huge component in this East Loop project. Is that a talked about subject? Has this court ever discussed it in a town hall forum or to the public of how that's going to affect our county and why that's a component of this East Loop project and the Freeport thing? It's just crazy, the stuff that's going on. That you all are involved in all this, and you may think we all know about it, but we don't. And if there's a reason we don't know about it, it's kind of behind the scenes stuff, and we have a right to know. I also wish that I could be assured that there's a cost-benefit analysis being done for some of these projects. It's great to, acquire the parking garage, but was there ever a cost-benefit analysis done for that? I don't know. If there's other projects we're taking on, do we do cost-benefit? Not sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cindy Wiley.
Morning. I have a couple of subjects, some regarding elections, but I do have a comment. I like to think that I take a proactive approach to most things in life, not a reactive. And given that a year from now we're going to have primaries, and I know 3 of you are up for re-election, and not putting any voodoo on it or anything, just in case there's new commissioners that are coming on board, I ask that this county create a new commissioner program in which you create binders, you do training prior to taking the seat, just so that when the new commissioners come on board, they're not just learning what's happening in the county. I know that we're all big grown-ups here, and we can do our own, investigation prior. But I think it would be good for this county to create a program in which new commissioners, you have a protocol that you go through. You learn department names, you get a binder, you know that you meet the people, and each department can talk to you prior to you taking a seat so that you understand what's happening. So that's my business side of me. Second of all, I wanted to address the redactions that will be taking place. If it was in my opinion, it was an unnecessary purchase to spend $13,000 of our money. Why? Because unless you know where the individual voted, which has now been removed, we cannot find the polling location that the voter voted at. Without that piece of information, we cannot audit. We cannot find where the person voted, therefore we can't track the ballot to the person. So that was an unnecessary purchase, because right now, as it sits, like I said, we can't find the ballot, we can't track the ballot to the person as it exists right now, irregardless of redactions. It's just impossible. So, you know, I think if this body really understood how our elections functioned, and you really understood the ballot and the pieces of information on the ballot and how the whole countywide program works, you would have understood from the get-go that spending $13,000 was pointless. So that's my comment on that. Another thing I would like to address. How much time do I have left? 1:10. Okay. So another thing, I do look forward to being able to push a button and it count down 4 minutes, or you guys do it. That would be really nice. We've been kind of watching TAC, which is Texas Association of Counties. Back in February, they started sending out a resolution to all Texas counties that participate in countywide voting. And the resolution basically was to present the election officials, presenting it to the county commissioners to sign off on that should they ever be presented with eliminating countywide voting, that they would refuse to do that. So if I look at it from a macro position, that's like a lobbying position. And I find it very disturbing that these people are somewhere out there. We have a relationship with them, our county does, but they're unelected. But they're having an influence in our elected representatives, and that really bothers me. Okay. Time's up. Thanks.
Thank you. John Book.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I'm here to speak on one positive and on one negative today. The positive is coming out of Commissioners Precinct 1, Commissioner Nettles' town hall last Wednesday. As a Commissioners 2 citizen in rural Brazos County, I was heartened to see that. I'm heartened to hear it from Precinct 4. It should be in every precinct in this county. It should be every quarter. I asked for a workshop before the May 6th email came out this morning at 9:25, 12 hours after Quiddity put it on the county website. Y'all are better than this. As elected officials, y'all should not be receiving death threats at all. The level of public discourse and rancor is unacceptable. And I do not stand behind that one iota. But we should not be fearful, either as elected officials or as members of the public, to speak our minds, to have disagreements, to have substantial disagreements. If it needs to take a judge, a JP, and a constable, Constable Lampo, whomever, I'm heartened. We need to look for the helpers there. I'm heartened by the county county officials who were there, the everyday people, your staff members. I've asked, and I've spoken in private, and I'll speak in public, may y'all have the wisdom of Solomon and the strength of Aaron and the humility of Moses on your decisions. As a court, as a public discourse, we need that from every one of us in this county. This is not going away, and if we'd had these 8 years ago, back when we had lines on a page drawn by the MPO, we need that out in the public. We need availability of y'all after 5 p.m. I haven't been here in 3 months, and it so happens that y'all have had that released yesterday. And I'm not here to complain about that substantially because I have disagreements even with the new route. But we have members of the public saying those against are NIMBYs. But the thing that I'm consistently saying is not NIMBY, not in my backyard, but why in my backyard, WINBY. And not just my backyard, but my neighbor's backyard. Precinct 1, Precinct 2, Precinct 3, Precinct 4, it doesn't matter. All of those lines on that page deserve the equal treatment of dignity and respect protect both the elected officials and those drawing the lines as well as those affected by those lines. And it's no need to go on and claim or throw y'all under the bus on things. It's not acceptable at all. But it requires more than doing media junkets. It requires more than even answering emails or phone calls. That is not personal enough. And the death threats are unacceptable, and I can respect why that perhaps is not why something has happened in Precinct 2. This is not a political issue outright, though it does have political ramifications. This is a neighbor issue, and it's unacceptable for those threats. But it's also unacceptable from a standpoint, as obedient as I can be to public service, to not inform the public, not to the level of legal requirement. Book, sir. Thank you. But to that point of doing more for informing the public. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That was the last citizen to speak in the citizens' input. So we will consider and take action on agenda items 3 through 18. Number 3 is proclamation 25-019 recognizing Irma Cawley for her outstanding contributions to the community and proclaiming April 19th, 2025 as Irma Cawley Day.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made second. I don't see Irma, don't see anybody from the family today. I think she's got is it a birthday party that this presentation will be made at? So
Yeah.
I won't read it this morning, but,
Okay, on Friday night, right.
okay. But we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Irma did a great job while she was on the Commissioner's Court, and I appreciate everything she's done, so I was glad to see that.
Mr. Judge, might I
Sure.
suggest, and I'm going to say it without asking her permission, I understand Ms. Boney's going to be in attendance.
Okay.
Could we designate her as the person to read that proclamation on our behalf? Unfortunately, I'm planning to be out of town for that. Could we do that?
Oh, sure. I think so.
Would you be willing to do that on behalf? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm
When
sorry.
called on in public, you have
I'm
no
sorry.
choice.
No pressure.
I know that I put you on the spot, and my deepest apology, but it dawned on me, you know, my personal trip has been planned for months, and I will not be there otherwise.
You will pay for that.
I will pay for that. Thank you, Mrs. Boney.
Thank you, Ann. Okay, we voted on it. All right. Number 4 is request authorization for a wire transfer for $177,569.38 to Health and Human Services Commission, HHSC, for the federal fiscal year 2021.
Move for approval. Are you still reading?
Well, graduate medical education, GME, for the benefit of participating hospitals using funding from the Brazos County Local Provider Participation Fund.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion. And this is hospital money that was, that they voluntarily put through the county, and it's a pass-through. It's not property tax money. It is hospital money that was gathered is for them to be able to offset indigent health care in their hospitals. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None motion carries. Number 5 is approval of requested from the IT department to increase Diners Club credit card for Stephanie Johnson from $5,000 to $10,000 for various contract expenses, training, and travel costs.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion.
Judge, I have a problem with this, and I don't know if I would even raise my wife's credit limit by that much. Now, any of y'all that know my wife, please do not tell her I said that.
What was her number? I'll text you.
But, you know, there was a couple of large items that have to be paid for with a credit card, and I wonder why we don't pay through normal channels with a check like we do for so many other things. within the county. I know you're fixing to beat me up on that, but
Come up there.
So I do trust the IT department. I don't know about your spouse.
And I mean, I guess, when you say pay with a check, they'd have to have a checkbook.
Morning, Judge,
well, just
Commissioners.
Morning,
it's your
Eric.
normal channels, you know.
Like an
trans-
invoice?
Yeah, with the invoice.
For some time now, the IT department has had two individuals who have been issued credit cards for purchases that require the credit card. There are certain vendors out there who simply will not accept a purchase order and consequently will not accept a check against that purchase order. They include Zoom, they include Intuit, who makes the QuickBooks financial software that's used in various locations throughout the county. All of our domain names and our SSL certificates to purchase for our websites. Those vendors will not accept a PO. Those have to be purchased via a credit card. When I have to send staff off to training, it's while the hotels, certainly the bigger chain hotels, might accept a PO, it is much more convenient to pay the hotel or reserve the hotel room via a credit card rather than trying to get them to accept a PO in advance of the arrival date. Same thing with airlines when we have to fly people out of here. There were 30, let's see, APCO. We have to send staff to APCO, and sorry, I don't know what that acronym stands for. Our Constable Lampo could probably tell us, but it is all law enforcement related, and I have to send a radio guy out there to that APCO conference. They don't accept a PO. Our annual renewal for the American Registry for Internet Numbers, for again, internet related, they don't accept a PO. We have to send people off to get training on installation of cabling that we put into our buildings around the county. That certification, that training and that certification test, again, they require a credit card.
Wouldn't a debit card be better?
No. Debit cards, if there's fraud, you don't get that money back. With a credit card, you have fraud protection.
So
In
Eric,
any-
let
well,
me-
whether-
Eric, let me
yes,
ask
sir.
a question. I think that's a good point. I realize we have the need, but do you review the credit card purchases monthly to make sure that all those are within the parameters of your department?
I
Somebody-
specifically don't, but I do have staff that do that. And of
Okay.
course, like any payment that leaves the county coffers, it goes through the appropriate steps.
Right.
Auditor's office looks at that. So there's a number of checkpoints throughout the entire process where other eyes are seeing it besides me. I will say though, the real issue at hand is, or what I'm requesting, is that one of the two credit cards be increased in the credit limit. We've got one credit card already issued with a credit limit of $10,000. We have a second credit card issued to a second member on my staff, but the credit limit on that card is only $5,000. I'm asking that $5,000 be increased to 10, so that between the two cards, we have a credit limit totaling $20,000. The reason that we need that is because of the expenses that we now have to put on that credit card just seem to continue to grow and grow and grow. So for example, between calendar year 2021 and calendar year 2022, the expenses that we charged to those cards increased 19%. Between 22 and 23, they increased again another 11%. Between 23 and 24, they increased a whopping 57%. And so in last year alone, throughout the course of the year, we spent $45,227.68 on those two cards. We were able to do it because as the bill comes in from the Diners Club credit card issuer, we were able to pay it off. We have to pay it off. We cannot carry that balance and incur interest, on those cards. So we are paying it off within 30 days every time we get a monthly statement. And so consequently, the amount of credit that's available to us, fluctuates throughout the year. But the problem is that we now have expenses such as Intuit QuickBooks and the Zoom licensing that we have to carry for a number of different individuals and departments throughout the county. Those two expenses alone are almost $8,000 and almost $10,000 each. And so just one charge will eat up all of the available balance on one card. Another expense will eat up virtually all of that balance on another card. And so we need to be able to increase that limit so that we have that purchasing power and we don't get locked up without. Our only alternative at that point would be to go to purchasing, who in turn would use a credit card in our stead.
Okay, I'm okay with it now. Please, nobody call my wife, okay? I mean, please.
How am I doing on time?
That's very private.
I think you kind of mentioned it. All of these are budgeted expenses that are watched over by the auditor and by budget.
Yeah.
They're not just going to, I don't want to get in trouble with Jane. They're not going to the grocery store and charging more than they expected. They're paying off contracted items. It's not.
That's correct.
It's not just
Okay.
somebody decides to put something on a credit card.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned 2 or 3 weeks ago about Diners Club, because I hadn't seen a Diners Club since the 70s. Well, I did a little research. Diners Club now is part of MasterCard. So if you have a Diners Club, it's really a MasterCard. So just for what it's worth, Department.
And we take Diners Club for our guest room that you'll probably need to be staying in for a few days. So, you
Thank you, Chuck.
Here to help, Fred.
You're probably right.
All right, thank you. I don't think we voted yet. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 6 is approval requested from journal entry to expense arbitrage rebate liability for Series 2020 bonds as indicated by the arbitrage compliance report completed December 31, 2024. Please note that there may be a revision in the amount after September 30, 2025 due to continued expenditures.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 7 is approval of renewal contract 25-100R for the following professional services contracts.
Move for approval A, B, and C.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion.
Judge, I'm just giddy. All 3 of these are local. I'm just so tickled to death that these are all 3 local companies, and I've been pushing for that for a long time. The only thing I have an issue with is that they're all on 3-year contracts with 2 additional years that can be added. And I just want to be fair to other companies that would like to be able to grab the brass ring, so to speak. So, just for what it's worth in the future.
Well, and part of the reason I think that is maybe a positive thing for as far as cost is that if we were on all our contracts, we were going out for annual contract bid.
Yes, sir.
It would require more staff in purchasing to handle all that. I mean, that's part of the problem is that I don't know that it would save any money by going out every year, from those bids, but it's certainly going to cost us more money for staff. We'll have to have more staff to be able to handle those continually annual bids. So
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your comments. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 8, approval of bid renewal 25-107R transportation of deceased and cremation services with Hillier Funeral Home.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 9 is approval of order exempting sole source contract with Southern Cementous Slurry from competitive bidding pursuant to Texas Local Government Code 262.024A7A.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion.
Judge, my only comment about this is nowhere in all the background that we got on this issue does it say what the price difference is between this cementitious slurry from regular lime. Oh, here comes my favorite guy.
Commissioner, I can get you that number, what the difference is. It's used in different applications. Ms. Parthana may be able to speak better to that, but it's used in areas of high density where there's a lot of people. Regular lime tends to cloud up and be pretty uninviting for the homes around it. And so they use this in a situation like that where it's a liquid application, so you don't have that annoying dust at that time. But we can get the cost difference to you. I think it's used on a sparing basis only when necessary. But Parthana can probably speak much better to that.
Prathana Banerjee, County Engineer. Like Charles mentioned, we use it very sparingly, only in situations where there's high clay in the soil, and it's we've not really encountered such situations recently on a regular basis. But like he mentioned, it's used in areas where there's high density, and lime is basically just creates a lot of dust, and we want to basically take care of that issue and make it as smooth process for the people living in the area. One thing I want to mention, though, on the earlier, contract for the various providers for geotech and surveying and civil engineer in particular, the thing, can I? Sorry. I'm sorry. I wanted to say at that time, but.
Doctor, you don't know the difference, so dollar-wise between the two?
Not off the top of my head, but I can get it for you.
Yeah, please, if you would. And again,
Yes.
I love your East Texas accent.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yes,
And
yes.
by the way, we have coffee in our office now,
Oh,
so you're
good,
welcome to come.
good. Well, I'll come out then. Thank you.
All right. So I think we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 10 is approval for service contract 25-108, cementous slurry with Southern Cement Slurry LLC.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 11 is approval of CIP 25-592 for juvenile perimeter security fence with installation by Foster Fence Ltd. with for $9,645.77 from Brazos County Juvenile Facility.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion.
Judge, was there any local fence builders that bid on this? Let me see who.
Commissioner, I'm Linda Ricketson, and I think that this was already a state contract. This particular fencing company is the company that already placed the fence around Juvenile when the new facility was built. And so he came out, and we need to make an addition for safety and security purposes.
Okay.
So I think there's already a contract, I believe, with this service.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
It's not a standard fence either.
Oh, it's not?
That would keep animals or whatever that you put around your yard. This is for detention grade.
Okay.
So it's very specialized for the use.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And I want to remind everybody that on May 1st, we have a vendor fair at the Brazos Center.
Why don't you do that in the
Oh,
announcement?
never mind.
You're not talking on the right agenda item there.
Okay, back to number 11. I think we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 12 is consider and take action on Welborn's SUD utility permit to construct a road bore 23683 Ward Road to provide water service, sites located in precinct 1.
So
Move to
moved.
approve.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 13 is tax refund application for the following.
Move for approval A through D.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 14 is budget amendments, but FY 24-25 budget amendments 26.01 through 26.04.
Move approval?
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion.
Judge, there's an item in here that has to do with with all the hail damage on the county vehicles. And there's $1,000 deductible on each and every one of those vehicles. And you don't really need to talk to me, but thank you anyway. But what I wanted to say was, all over town, there's companies out there that are advertising, we'll fix your car, we'll fix your hail damage, zero deductible. So when we get to the point where we decide what vehicles need to be repaired, I hope that we'll go to some of these companies and get them to give us bids on whether there's a deductible or not. So we have a potential to save a lot of money, because there is a lot of money involved in this. So,
Good morning.
good morning.
Okay, so since we have insurance, the deductible side is going to be based on what your insurance policy is. Our insurance policy is $1,000 per vehicle. That gives us a lower premium throughout the year for each vehicle.
No, I understand that. That's not the deductible isn't the issue. I mean, trying to save us out-of-pocket money is the issue.
Right.
So that's-
So our fleet department chooses the vendors that we go to for the hail repairs. Then they make sure that the hail repairs are done correctly. And then we basically monitor the payments. We process all the payments and everything that go out so that we can make sure that our premiums don't go up and we're getting the best bang for our dollar.
You're missing the point that I'm trying to make.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is there's companies out there that will do the hail repair for a lot less than what our deductible is. And we need to explore what those opportunities are instead of just paying a blanket $1,000 per vehicle.
So those companies are actually saying zero deductible, but it's only based on whatever your insurance policy is. So we can go to those companies, but if our insurance policy, they're going to be asking us what our insurance policy is, and then they're going to base it and go through our insurance for the repairs and get paid.
The Texas Association of Counties is not going to just send us a blanket check for all the vehicles?
So they actually reimburse us. So we monitor the payments because we don't want to overpay and end up having to pay Texas associations back, or the vendors, making extra money when we could be monitoring that, because that affects our premium at the end of the year. So that's why we process everything. Then we send a bill to Texas Association of Counties and they reimburse us, minus the $1,000 deductible.
Okay.
Okay. We've got a motion and a second on number 14. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 15 is personnel change status.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 16 is payment of claims. Claim to be paid by Brazos County, claim number 8209055 through claim number 8209200, and claim number 9204018 through claim number 9204102.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. We will skip down to number 19, which is an acknowledgement of the FY 2024-25 budget to actuals by fund as of April 9, 2025, and an acknowledgement of the FY 2024-25 contingency budget to actuals by fund as of April 9, 2025. And then number 20 is Juvenile Director's Report on Detention Population. Linda.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. We have 23 in detention, 16 males, 7 females, and we have 34 on electronic monitor. Thank you.
Okay.
Wow, good
Thank
number.
you. 21, Sheriff's Report on Inmate Population. Sheriff.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. 706 this morning, 608 men, 98 women, and we have 42 on monitors.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
22 is announcement of interest items and possible future agenda topics. So remember?
Oh, yes, sir. Okay. I just wanted to remind everybody that on May 1st, we're having a vendor fair at the Brazos Center, and the county's involved. We have both cities involved. We have Texas A&M involved, both ISDs involved, and we're going to try to teach chamber members that have businesses how to do business with all of these different entities. We want to spend as much local taxpayer dollars in Brazos County as we possibly can. So we feel like this vendor fair will be a way that opportunity will increase for all of us. So.
Okay, and I have something. So on last Friday, I wanted Trevor and Bob call together, back up. So we're getting ready to build the 101 building, which will be for the public defenders, JP, constable, adult probation, and like that. So that's what will go into the new building here at the corner of Texas Avenue and 26, William Joe Bryant. And so what Trevor did is he called a non-public meeting to bring all of the stakeholders together, but also to bring together the contractors, the geological folks, the engineering folks, the design folks, to talk about the facility, to have all of us, for example, IT, like I said, all the different departments. What is it that you want in terms of the building, so that everybody was on the same page? It was a phenomenal meeting, because what at the end of the day, what we want is a quality facility. We want a safe facility, well-built facility, and the information that came out in terms of the folks that we're looking at that will help us as we talk about spending taxpayer dollars. What will happen in terms of the design of that building, the use of that building was discussed, but the plus was that everyone who should have a part in building the facility was in the room. They also got to hear from each of the departments that will tentatively go into the building, and they were able to express publicly what it is that they hope that they will get out of the building, and how everybody can work collaboratively to be sure that the facility, hopefully, when it is completed, there won't have to be any do-overs or whatever the case may be. But I want to thank Trevor for bringing all of those folks together and allowing me as the commissioner, since it's in Precinct 4, to be present, to be supportive, but also to hear from all of the departments who will also be housed in that building. And so again, Trevor, Bob, and all of the folks who were there, thank you all so very much for that. It was a good informational meeting, so that we know what is going on, but everyone was in the room. Even the geologist was there in terms of, the construction of the building. So, you have to start with the foundation first. And so they even had that young man in there. A lot of geeky guys, but they knew what they were doing. and they spoke in building geeks format. But it was a wonderful meeting. I was glad to be there, to hear what was me, to even have a moment to speak, that the excitement of the opportunity to bring this facility to the county, such that we hope that building will be a 50-year plus building. So the expenditure will be validated over the use of the building in a way that is needed for those various departments. Because sometimes, you build buildings and you either outgrown it before it's built, or you realize that you should have added something else to it, if nothing else but an extra outlet to plug in a computer. So again, Trevor, Bob, thank you all. I think Trevor's not here today, but I want to give him a high five, as we say, for calling that meeting. It was a very informative meeting, and I thank you for that. And it just goes to show that our county employees are doing a phenomenal job. The budget folks were there, so it wasn't just the technical people. The money folks were there, the auditors were there, like I said, the IT, all of the departments that have a part in this in any way to make sure that the county is doing what it needs to do to provide the services that we need to provide to our citizens. So again, thank you guys very much. And like I said, as we go forward, they gave a timeline. Don't know when we're going to go for a groundbreaking, but at some point we will have a quality facility for the citizens of Brazos County. So thank you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else? Any other announcements?
Just want to wish everyone a very blessed Easter, all those geeky and non-geeky people a blessed Easter as we celebrate our Lord's triumph over sin and death.
Judge, I'd like to remind everybody, the county's having a job fair, April 23rd, is that right?
On the 23rd, yeah.
What-
Not a vendor,
Not what, I thought you were going to repeat what Fred was saying.
Yes, it's separate, yeah.
So we have a lot of great employees help put on the town
Yeah.
hall, and if y'all want to join that team, find out where they're hiring, but where's that going to be at?
Brazos Center?
Brazos Center, so April 23rd,
Okay.
so.
Good. All right.
So come on down.
All right. We will move back up and consider and take action, or we'll move back up to 17, and convene an executive session pursuant to the following, and I think we got 3 contracts, and so, Counselor, we're going to have to take a vote on that, so.
Yes, sir. And I have provided the court with my written determination that deliberation open meeting would be detrimental to the position of the county on each of these 3 contracts individually.
I move for approval that each of the 3 contracts are discussed in executive session.
Second. Okay, motion made and seconded for all 3, A, B, and C. It needs to be unanimous. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous, so the motion passes. We will start out with, on A, we'll need everybody normal, the attorneys, chief of staff, of course, Aubrey and the commissioners. And we're going to need Trudy in that meeting. And then when we reach the second one, I know we'd need Leslie and Nina coming in for those. And then in the third, we'll need Bob and Nina, I believe, on that one too. So we're going to start out with, the first will be with Trudy. Is there anybody else on there that?
I believe on C that Chief Stewart was going to sit in on that one.
On C, that's correct. I didn't write that down. That's correct. All right. And the time is 11:03.
Judge Harthover, good to see you. How are you? Doing very well.
Okay, we're coming out of executive session. It's 11:54. We're going to recess and then go back into executive session at 1:30. There's no action to be taken right now, so we'll recess until 1:30.